live stream now, so it normally gives me a countdown.
Beautiful. It says we are live on YouTube.
Nice. Okie dokie.
Oh, and I see there that we do have a live feed, Nicola. That's awesome.
Nice. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure it's, because it's just circling right now. Okay, so it looks like we're live. Just preparing the live stream now. So
Oh, beautiful. I'm just going to, I don't know if that's my audio or that's probably your audio. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. As you know, my name is Nicola. Thank you for joining us today. We do indeed. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure it's just circling right now. Okay, so it looks like we're live.
You might have to just mute your speakers on your computer, Nicola, and it should help with that.
Beautiful. I'm just going to, I don't know if that's my audio. Okay, so bear with us, everybody, just a moment here, because we do have a little bit of a feedback issue here. So I think there's like a 5-second delay. So just so you know. So hang on here just one moment whilst I just go into YouTube. Yeah, I'm just going to do that now. Hang on. Where are we? So if I go into there, that needs to be muted right there. Okay, and I'm going to come back to my Zoom call. And we're almost there. Ah, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So welcome, everybody. My name is Nicola. So welcome to our channel. So I just wanted to give you some news regarding some of you are aware that I do peer support facilitation at the Gatehouse. So I've been invited as a guest to appear on their live programming of the trauma conference this year, which normally runs in June. However, due to our COVID issue that we're having right now, we are doing the trauma conference in November this year, which runs on the 23rd of November through to the 27th of December. So I will be facilitating after the opening speech by the founder of the Gatehouse, which is Arthur Lockhart, who founded the Gatehouse in 1998. So it's been going for 21 years. We had our 20-year barbecue celebration last year in June when we were able to get together. So in these traumatic times, and COVID may have put you in that space, we are doing a trauma-informed yoga flow beginning on the morning of the 23rd of November. So that'll be around about 11 o'clock. So the schedule will be posted around about the 19th of October. And then to finish off the week, because instead of it being a day-long process this year, we are doing it live each day through the week. So that would be running from Monday to Friday. So on the 27th, which is the Friday, the 27th of November, I'll also be doing a live yoga flow at 2 p.m. or thereabouts latest. The schedule may change, so we will be posting the proper live edited schedule up to date on the 19th of October, roundabouts there. So bear with us there. So I would just like to introduce you to the beautiful executive director, our lovely Maria Barcelos from the Gatehouse. So I will hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Nicola, and thank you for having me here on your first Facebook, or I should say YouTube live video stream. That's awesome. And thank you everyone for your patience with us. We are testing all these lovely technical aspects of being a live video. Yeah, like Nicola was mentioning, the Gatehouse is a charity that helps survivors of childhood sexual abuse. We've been around for 22 years. And we provide peer-to-peer support, of which Nicola is a peer facilitator in our groups, and also generously donates her time there to help men and women survivors of childhood sexual abuse heal and recover. Nicola is also instrumental on Twitter in terms of promoting, helping to raise awareness, helping people address their trauma history and recovery process. And as Nicola mentioned, we are hosting the Transforming Trauma Conference. It's our 10th year. So 10 years ago, we started this conference to bring people together from various communities, including professionals, facilitators, survivors, and the community together to understand how the impact of childhood sexual abuse is a lifelong process, and recovery and healing is possible. For people. We were actually yesterday partaking in a PTSD chat on Twitter with Stuart, who is also a facilitator at the Gatehouse. And there's conversation until now. It's still going. People are still on that chat talking about sexual abuse and some of the anger that can rise as a result of. We are looking at bringing together professionals again for this event, of which Nicola is a part of, and bringing us with peaceful yoga on the Monday opening and the Friday closing. So thank you, Nicola, for doing that for the Gatehouse. The schedule will be posted at thegatehouse.org, and also share it with Nicola so she can post it on her Nicola Yoga Facebook group, and also here on YouTube as part of the description later on for this video. We will post the schedule towards the end of October. We'll just do some fancy edits and put that on there. Yeah. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, my pleasure. Do you have any questions, Maria?
I do. If you would, elaborate a little bit about how trauma-informed yoga works for anyone who maybe isn't following this channel yet and has somehow come up on the stream. What is trauma-informed yoga? What's it all about? And how does it help survivors of trauma, not only childhood sexual abuse, but other types of trauma, maybe even first responders who have PTSD?
I'll answer as a participant, because having feedback from people that have said to me, oh, Nicola, I'd love to do yoga flow with you because I trust you. However, I haven't been able to do yoga before because I get in that space where realizations come up, or what people call triggers. I prefer to use the realization word because it connects a different area of the brain for me. So, and one lady in particular, which I won't mention her name for confidentiality, however, this particular lady said to me, I've really struggled to do yoga. And if you're not a trauma-informed yoga teacher, you may not know that if you single someone out by using their name, for instance, that person, and I've experienced that before and I didn't understand it, that particular person feels like the whole room is looking at them, because I felt that for myself. And you feel like, oh my goodness, like literally, if you've had some degree of trauma in your life, you're going to take that on as something which other people may not ever get that experience. But you feel almost embarrassed, you feel too aware, and it takes you away from your breath. So you have to ground yourself essentially back to the breath in order to calm your nerves down. So with PTSD, trauma, whatever you want to call it, c-ptsd, etc., it's commonality that we can get out of our body. So by bringing ourselves back to our body, by using the breath, by using choice words. So like, for instance, if you're going to say to someone, go into this pose, you might say, consider going into this pose. So people always feel like they have a choice. So that's paramount, especially when dealing with very traumatic childhood experience, because control is taken away from that child from a very, very early age. I mean, I don't know if you know the results of the survey that I did online. However, the biggest numbers that I found were that these young children were in nappy age or diaper age. Sorry, this is a British word. Basically, that means the biggest numbers I found was 3 and under, which surprised me, even though I have the experience that it wasn't higher than that. So that was a big shock for me, even though I deal with this on a regular basis. So when you give someone that choice, you're giving them back control. So they have the choice whether they go into that particular move. They have a choice to choose to go into a different position that might speak better to them. A lot of the time when we do trauma-informed yoga, the head stays in line with the spine. So like in a cat and cow, for instance, you go like that. With a trauma approach, you keep the neck in line with the spine, so it feels more nurturing, it feels more gentler on the body. Now, some trauma survivors may well be able to go into a regular cat and cow. However, that doesn't speak to everybody. So you always make sure, no different to a group process, the person faces the door. They have an exit route to get out. If they feel like they need to ground themselves out, they can take a few minutes to go ground themselves, take some breaths, and come back to the room whenever they need. There's choice. And then if the yoga teacher is trauma aware and they're watching their group, they can also see if someone's in that space. So if you can feel that that person's having a trigger or a realization or needs to bring themselves back, you slow down the group, you start using the breath, you do the 4-part breath, for instance. You might call it something else, but as yoga teachers, we call it 4-part breath, 3-part breath, whatever breath you feel is going to ground that person. So if they're, in that space and they're hyper aware, which PTSD survivors, for instance, can get themselves in that space, then, or hyper vigilant, so the fight and flight response might start to kick in. And then when you recognize that something's going on in that person, you can bring them back to that space. So it always feels like it's a very safe, nurturing environment. For instance, if you go to a yoga studio and all the blinds are open, for instance, that may not work for a lot of trauma survivors. So you have to make it feel like it's cozy. So the blinds would be pulled down, gentle lighting so they feel safe, but not too dark that it feels spooky. So there's that. I'm just trying to think what else. There's so many different things that you do as you're going through the process, and it always feels like it's a very gentle, nurturing environment. For instance, if someone shows up late to class, you don't call them out. You just let them come in and, make a gesture to say sit down, but so not interrupt the class, but also you're not going to single them out, right? So they just come in and the yoga teacher's not going to make a big deal about it. So there's stuff like that. So similar to how we would run a peer support group, but you're bringing some of those things into the classroom in the yoga practice. So when it's trauma informed, some of the moves are totally different to how you would run a yoga class. Some of those moves that I would do in a regular yoga class, I wouldn't even consider doing in a trauma informed approach. So I normally start, depends on the dynamics of the group, because normally it's like a 4 to 6 person class, no bigger than that, because it has to feel safe and it has to feel supportive. So big groups don't work in that environment. So generally I gauge the group from day one, and for the most part, day one, I'd be doing mainly floor work. So we'd be on the floor so you feel comfortable, you feel it's gentle enough. And gently throughout the 6 or 7 weeks, I would then be taking them just a little bit closer to their edge to see how comfortable they are. So there's that. Any questions?
No, it's great. It's great.
Okay.
I really like that there's consideration for, the adjustment of the environmental factors to make people feel more comfortable, the adjustment towards language that also helps people feel more comfortable, especially, given that they have childhood sexual abuse history, the control was taken away from them, boundaries were violated, they were violated as children. I'm not surprised by the numbers that you found, Nicola, because in the research that we've done over the past couple of years with people who've come through the house, we've looked at the age groups, and the predominant age is before the age of 10. More than 60% of participants stating that they were abused between the ages of 5 and 10. And we do have some participants as well who do not know a life pre-trauma. So we look at pre and post-trauma experiences, but some of our survivors don't have that. All they know is trauma. So it's important to consider that as well. And
the other thing to note is as well, sorry to interrupt, because I don't like to do that. However, what's really important as well is anytime, and that means anytime, you can, most yoga teachers will check in to make sure you're safe with touch at the beginning of the class. And that's good, don't get me wrong. However, anytime I go to touch anyone in my classes, and that goes for any time, whether you're a trauma survivor or not, I ask before I touch you every single time that I'm going to do it, because you never know, something may have changed with that participant, and they may not now feel safe at the middle of the class, end of the class, whatever. They might have been okay at the beginning, but they're now not okay now. So something may have changed in their experience. Something may have come up, a reflection from their past, and they may be going through that thing. So if all of a sudden they're in that space and you touch them, they're going to have a PTSD reaction.
Right.
And that sometimes isn't always pretty if you've experienced that in your life. So I always check in, am I okay to touch, before they're okay. So I don't single anyone out, but if they're in a resting pose, I'll ask all participants to close their eyes. Please put your hands on your stomach or on your shoulder or wherever, if you're okay with touch. Once I have their permission, then I'll proceed to adjust or whatever. So there's that, which is really important, especially for survivors and trauma survivors of any kind, not just childhood sexual abuse, everything.
For sure. And the other aspect, I was in a trauma-informed yoga class a couple years back, and the facilitator not only did that, but in addition to the putting your hand on your belly if you're comfortable with touch, to let them know that you were, to also explain what they were doing as they were making an adjustment. I'm going to put my hand on your back, and this is the purpose of that, so that the person was super comfortable with the touch. Because you're absolutely right. For survivors of childhood sexual abuse, touch can be a very triggering or re-triggering event. Or reactivating event, if you want to call it that, that can lead to a state of hyper emotional arousal, and that's not helpful to anyone. So it's really good that you do that with people. It's something that I think a lot of practitioners need to take a look at, and how that can be impacted. I remember a couple of years ago at one of our conferences, we had a massage therapist that came to learn more about the impact of we call it CSA for short, on survivors, because they wanted to develop their practice with healthier ways of communicating touch to their clients. And they were really supportive of the event, and in awe of the courage of people coming forward and sharing their stories. And that's what really this conference is about, is raising awareness and bringing people together to develop a better understanding of what goes on for people who have been traumatized, people who have PTSD, and are often stigmatized as a result as well, based on their experiences, or re-traumatized by people that are supposed to protect and care about them, and use the incorrect language or use the incorrect approach to providing quote unquote support to them, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing to mention is too, I mean, as you know, obviously, Maria, is a lot of trauma survivors experience fibromyalgia in their body. So some people, even though they may be comfortable in a yoga class, may not be comfortable with massage, like hands-on massage. And having an awareness of that as a trauma practitioner really helps me to guide some of my even regular massage patients throughout their practice, because generally what happens is, if you're not used to touch, the body clamps up and it stops breathing. Now, I can be aware of this when I have someone on my massage table, and I can tune in to what's going on with their body, and I will tell them to breathe. So it almost becomes like a massage meditation, if that sounds correct. However, that's essentially what it is, because when you suffer from fibromyalgia and you've gone to, say, an RMT who does full-on weight, you know, a registered massage therapist, sorry, speaking in language, that person may use their body weight for that particular person. And I know for myself, I've been to an RMT before, and even though I enjoyed the experience initially, I felt myself holding my breath. Now, when you hold your breath and you're having a massage, that's telling you they're going too deep, for one. When you're holding your breath in a yoga pose, that's also telling you you're going too deep. So there's regular cues in my yoga classes to tell people, if you're holding your breath right now, start breathing and go gentler on yourself and come out of the pose, or go gentler into this pose. So the same thing works with massage and fibromyalgia or anything where you're getting a traumatic response. If you find yourself stop breathing, then if the guidance from the therapist would be to breathe. So therefore, when they go home that evening, and I've experienced this myself, I've had an RMT massage before where I was stopped breathing because it was going too deep and it was painful. So I went with it because it almost felt like a nice pain. However, that evening when I came home, I had a severe migraine. And I don't think that was a coincidence. I feel that was related to the massage because it was too deep. Right. So the one thing that trauma survivors may be aware of is that if they're getting a massage and it is deep because they feel, oh, I need deep because I'm in a lot of pain, it's not always the best way to be. You're almost better off to start gentle and build up to that, because using your breath to stop breathing is not healthy for you at all. So I always recommend to my customers when they come, whether they're trauma survivors or not, because we're not always aware, because people don't always share until they trust, right. Is that please breathe deeply throughout the rest of your day. Please drink a lot of fluids throughout the rest of your day. However, don't drink 2 hours before bedtime because you're going to be up all night. So there's things like that you know may seem like common sense to me, to you or I, but the participant or the person that's coming for the massage, the yoga, etc., may not be aware of. So it's once you have awareness, you can change your way of thinking or what you're doing. So having awareness in that is vital to your healing, essentially. So I just wanted to add that because that came up.
For sure. No, that makes total sense, Nicola. And it made me think of one of the topics that sometimes, is interwoven into our regular topics is the disconnect between mind and body, and yoga puts you back in your body, right? And trauma-informed yoga does it really well and gently and softly, so that it's your choice and you're in control as the participant, as the survivor of your recovery journey, and how yoga can help you. And if anyone is watching this video live now, just to subscribe to Nicola's channel, because she does post a lot of videos. She has a 30-day challenge on here. And she's also you're doing another challenge in the near future. You were talking about some videos that you're going to be doing, or you have been doing. So you want to maybe share a little bit more about that if people haven't, if they're new to your channel.
So right now from the 1st of October, I do have a yoga for ailments, which includes fibromyalgia, Lyme disease, breast cancer, regular cancer, any kind of cancer. Most of the flows are the 30 most common ailments that people get. And I did a lot of research with a doctor for over 30 years, who is a yoga teacher as well as a doctor of over 30 years. So sorry, recapping that or reframing that. So I put together flows, for instance, herniated disc, stenosis, the common cold, flu season, hence this thing that's upon us right now. Not going to mention that word because it's overused. And there's a regular, hips, shoulders, anything that's really going on with the body that's a common ailment, I have put into a flow. In addition to that, I'm also putting together an online 7-week program for trauma-informed yoga. So essentially that means I have a private video which is shared with you once you've signed off on the confidentiality agreement, which is really important for trauma, to know that it is a private space. And then I've just started to design, well, I already have designed the flows, but putting the flows onto a online format. So there's that. So the first week, initially, I go through the reading of the confidentiality agreement and the guidelines, because I don't like to use rules because it's too controlling. The guidelines for the particular group. So there's that. And then once you've watched that 20-minute video and you've sent back the paperwork via email, then we can go to the next stage or the next video, which is normally between a 20 and 40, up to an hour flow yoga for trauma-informed practice. And then after that, we then meet live on Zoom to go through the CBT part of the program, so the cognitive behavioral therapy. So that does involve a writing element for up to 10-15 minutes. And then if you're comfortable, and it is a choice, if you're comfortable to share in that small circle between 4 and 6 people, then we can share. And the peer support just works because you get that, oh yes, I can understand what you're saying, or I can relate to what you're saying. You get that in the circle. So then it brings up something that someone else might remember, and you just share comfortably. So the second part with the live element is set up and mutually convenient time for the people that would like to participate. So that is flexible. So that portion, as long as it fits within my schedule, obviously. So I am also looking for a second facilitator on that, if I don't already have one already. So apart from that, I think that's pretty much it. Did you have any questions, Maria?
No, I think I'm super excited that you're going to be doing a lot more like live streaming on here on YouTube. I'm very happy to hear that, and helping more people in other ways to heal and recover, and also feel more connected during this time that we are all experiencing. So yeah, I was super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me here. And if anyone is interested in finding out about the Gatehouse, just go to the gatehouse.org website.
Yes, so reminder, the trauma conference, or Transforming Trauma Conference, which is normally held in June of every year, is now being held online from the 23rd of November right through to the 27th of December. So further information will be posted over the next little while to thegatehouse.org, or you can phone Maria at the Gatehouse. I can't remember the number, 416.
Oh no, don't call, because we're not there. We're all working remote.
Okay.
Yeah, it's easier to
all
email.
Online. Okay.
Just maria@thegatehouse.org is great.
Okay, so the email maria@thegatehouse.org. Okay, that's great. All right, well, thank you for listening, everybody. I hope you enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. We'll just finish off with a short metta prayer, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring the hands to heart center if you wish, and if you don't, that's okay too. You can either float the eyes closed or rest with your gaze about 2 or 3 feet ahead. Grow tall in the spine, tuck in the chin, shoulders pull back and down. May you be healthy, may you be safe, may you be peaceful, may you awaken to the light of your one true nature. Namaste. Okay, thanks everybody. See you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.